The golf outing is Monday.
Oh, it's Monday.
Yeah. It's gonna be 72 inside.
Won't see Chris in there yet.
I know. What can I say?
I don't know. Yeah, I always said she didn't know where they came from. She said they came.
She did?
Came in the mail and they're.
I was just about to do that too.
Hey.
Interestingly, so.
She did say if you want them, they'll be gone. If you don't want them, they'll be there. So they'll.
Yeah. Yeah, I was about to say, a peek through them. It might come from, you know, the binary thing.
All right, we're gonna call the meeting to order, 7 o'clock. We could rise to the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Sure. Same order as last time.
I think the maps.
Thank you. Ibar.
Here.
Klein.
Here.
Palmer.
Here.
Persky. Here. Wonder Jim. Here. Warren.
Here.
Buck.
Here. Please note, as a courtesy to members of the audience and the Board of Education, please place your audio on mute until you wish to speak. Public will only be able to speak during public comment if signed up. This evening, we have no one signed up, so we will move on to the approval of the agenda. All in favor?
Yes.
Number 2, consent action agenda.
Support.
All in favor?
Yes.
Excellent. First regular action item is the approval of superintendent's goals for 2020. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the superintendent goals for 2020-2021. Roger.
Sure.
Oh, sorry.
So support.
All right, Roger.
Sure. Just as you know, annually I have 3 goals. And this year, the first goal is one that was actually last year before the COVID situation hit. So we wanted to put that one back on, so I did. So that is a 1-page 3 to 5 year district strategic plan, which will include identified core values, beliefs, and revisit our mission statement, which we should do from time to time, and provide a vision for the district and communicate essential learner outcomes, and 3 to 5 year targets for the district as a whole. So that will involve many stakeholder groups, and we'll do that over time through hopefully in person and some, I'm sure, Zoom and Google Meets and so on. So
There's a lot of things in there. It seems like that's going to take some time.
it will take some time, and you really want to get a lot of input from a lot of people. So we'll do some things, I'm sure, surveys, like I said, probably some groups, little town hall, Zoom groups, and so on, just to get some information and see what starts reading through there as far as the strategic plan.
And just, look for clarification on this.
Sure.
So, if memory serves me correctly, I think we talked about this in January. And it's just time again for another, what's our direction?
Yes.
Right? You're
Yes.
beating and beating the drum, and now you want to make sure you have an orchestra. So, it's been a while,
Yeah.
so I've been able to do it.
Yeah.
But this is exciting to see, because this hopefully will be a nice big direction, especially with everything that's going on, and how we've had to evolve, how this will go. I think will bring a lot of good overall. Thanks.
Good point, yeah.
Okay, and then the second one, and I gotta admit, this is, these all 3 are important, but this one to me is, I mean, if you really ask me, gosh, what are we trying to do? This really, to me, sums it up. Superintendent will navigate the various situations presented to Grandville Public Schools during a pandemic with a focus on student success academically, socially, emotionally, and in regards to safety and stakeholder communication. Superintendent will provide a board report when made, providing data to summarize performance, success, and encapsulate the school year and what we learned. So we'll talk a lot about, you know, what happened during the year, what we did, our planning, how our planning went, the things that we learned, mistakes we made, things we learned from those mistakes, academic data, social emotional data, all those kinds of things. We just try to encapsulate that as a kind of a capstone project to the year.
Yeah, and I appreciate that you have included this in your goals, because we cannot avoid it. It's here, and I think this reflects a lot on you as a superintendent for us to be able to follow along and really pay attention. So I appreciate that.
And third one, superintendent will develop a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee for 2021, which will focus on goal attainment as written in the Grandville Public Schools diversity, equity, inclusion plan for implementation. The committee will report out to the board regarding the goals and successes in May of 2021. So this is one of the first large goals we had, is to have a diverse group, a committee to really look at our goals and delve into the details of that and to hold us accountable for what we said we were going to do. So we are in the process of looking at different candidates for that committee, and when we start doing something, we'll give you an update of who and where we're going, and maybe get them in early and then have them later on in the year doing what we used to do.
Can you remind me, are these just employees, or is this community?
It'll be a diverse group. It'll be parents, employees, might be some business people. Just try to get a nice diverse group of people, kids, probably a couple high school kids for sure, to be a part of that.
Last year you had all the training with the administration.
Yes.
Meeting the goals. This year, did any of the plans change with training? I know that a lot of things had to shift around this year. I wasn't sure if that goal changed at all.
One of the primary goals in our goals is to develop a 3 to 5 year professional learning plan for all staff. So that's the part that, you know, when we get the committee formed, we'll begin working on a timeline and a plan for that.
So is this year, is there any plans?
This year there will be some, yes. We've already talked about some things that we'd like to do, so.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, so reports, we're gonna get a 7-8 building construction update.
Yes, a major part of tonight, we have some guests that are on from the Windy Brook Crest neighborhood over by 52nd Canal, that area. And we invited them so that they could hear more about the site plan of the new 7-8 building. We want to make sure they have that information, especially that layout in regards to their homes, the woods around their homes, and so on. We also later on will have an opportunity where they'll be able to go on to Google form, and if they have any questions, they'll be able to write them down, and we will get back to them with the answers to those questions.
Excellent. On behalf of the board, we want to welcome you to the meeting. Things are moving, and we just appreciate public comment and just involving our community. So we're glad y'all are here.
Yeah. So Heather, I'll turn it over to you, and you can introduce Chris and the crew.
Sure. First, Chris and Jim, can you hear us okay? All right. So Chris Arnton up there in the top left-hand corner, he is our main lead architect with GMB on this project with us. And then Jim Rosema, he is the site architect with GMB for us. So what I'd like to do, Walter, can you share that presentation, or Chris, did you want to present?
Either way, I can't really see the screen very well. I could take a stab, but either Walter or I can share my screen.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and share your screen?
All right. Let me make sure everything's off.
Hey, well,
Yeah.
how many attendees do we have?
Currently 16.
Screen. All right. Oh, we do.
There we go.
Success. Make you guys bigger. There we go. All right. Oh, you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Just went really quiet. Got it. Okay. All right. So to go through, thanks for everybody for jumping on tonight. Wanted to go through kind of the current schematic design, like kind of the site plan for kind of the overall site work that we're doing, and then talk a little bit about the proximity to your houses along the southern border of. You can see my mouse, right? Moving.
Yes.
Okay. I can also annotate here if I'll try to draw the areas I'm talking about. So obviously we're talking about that edge. Sorry, uh-oh, where's my, oh, sorry, bear with me one second. Oh my goodness, everything's all over the place. Sorry about that. Clear. There we go. So to give a little bit of the orientation of the site, 52nd Street along this edge, Canal comes down this side. Wilson is up over here. This is Costco. And the high school is just to the north. This big green area is the wetland that kind of crosses over the northern edge of the site. And the current rugby and softball field is down on this lower area, and I can zoom in here.
Chris, this is Bob. Question, can you put your presentation on display rather than you? Because it's, for anyone in the audience, they may not get as large of an image.
Sure. I can also zoom in too. Thank you for that comment. Perfect. So going back to the kind of the site, this is over on the west side of the site off Canal is the existing robotics center. The site is much higher on this in this corner, and it slopes down to the rugby field and the softball field here. And the same thing along this southern edge, it all slopes down to the wetland basically. The building that we'll talk about in a second, the new 7-8 building, is nestled in kind of the middle up into this little nook in between the wetland. And we will have access from 52nd Street and as well as Canal. And feel free to stop me, everybody, if you have some more questions too. The next slide. So this is an overview showing kind of the development of the site thus far. We'll kind of start from the periphery again, zooming in here. So the access is the student drop-off entrance would be off of 52nd. You would move along this western edge or the eastern edge of the site. There will be a new practice field here and a new softball field in this corner of the site. The road will navigate up to the loop, the drop-off loop up near the school. On the western edge, the bus entrance will be coming down Canal from the high school and entering down into this bus loop, which will drop off near this, and we can zoom in here, which will drop off near the entrance in this location near the music and art and the STEM rooms. And buses will exit back out onto Canal. We do have some extra parking along the western side of the site, as well as on this eastern edge. And then the road that is existing out up to the north that goes out to Wilson and then up to the high school will be maintained. This dotted line is the existing, it's an existing walking path through the wetland. We're calling it the future path as we start to look at kind of how that would get built out in the future. looking at the kind of zooming in a little bit more, talking big picture about why this building is located where it is. What we wanted to do first and foremost was to take advantage of the site in every way possible. So we wanted to make sure we had access from 52nd Street as well as Canal and maintaining the connection up to Wilson. We also wanted to be conscious of the building's footprint and its height on the site. So by nestling this two-story academic wing, basically the building is on the main floor and then it steps down the hill toward the wetland in this direction. So it kind of steps down in that direction toward the wetland. So we're trying to minimize the height of the building along the southern edge as well as the eastern side as you come up from the 52nd Street entrance. I'll show you a quick view of what the building would look like kind of from this general area here in a minute. Going over as we start to look at the site, one of the reasons that we wanted to, one of the reasons we wanted to talk to you guys is talk about this today, along with kind of locating the building, is that we've applied currently for a permit through EGLE, which is the Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy. And there are two lines here, which you can see here. And these are two retaining walls that we're building to shore up the earth around this two-story wing. And we are building right on the edge of the wetland area. So we're required to submit for a permit through EGLE. And you guys will be receiving a notice in the mail explaining that there is a permit currently in process. And it will describe what we're doing a little bit. So this area basically, we are coming across with this existing road near the wetland. On this edge, we will be in very close proximity to it, which is why we have to pull that permit. No work can begin anywhere near the wetland area without the permit. So that is kind of the reason we would talk about, we wanted to make that clear today. So there will be some work started here, but we cannot do any work kind of near this wetland area until that permit is approved. So that's in process right now. Talking through some of the existing items that we're looking at, the existing parking lot here of the robotics will be maintained. This lower parking area will be removed to make room for this drive. You will see the existing drive into the robotics is a little south of where our proposed drive is, and we're looking to create a four-way intersection here at Jacob. So that's where the main entrance into the site from the western edge would be. And then the loop would continue through the existing robotics area and carry on down into this bus loop and parking lot. Looking at the rest of the wetland, we are looking to protect and maintain all of that everywhere else. There's a bit of a wetland down on this edge, but the majority of it is on this north side. We are going to have to remove a few trees down in this area to maintain or to create this bus loop. And we are looking to maintain as much of the green on this western edge as we possibly can. So we're staying pretty clear of the trees along this edge with this drive. As we start to zoom a little closer to the boundary of the neighborhood, what I want to point out too is we're denoting a 25-foot buffer that would basically border the neighborhood on the north and east side of it. So no grading work will happen in that border. All those trees will be maintained. Another thing that we wanted to talk through too is that the distance from this building to the property line here is about 280 feet, so almost the length of a football field. So we tried to push this building as far north as possible, as well as sinking it down into the ground. To give you a little bit of perspective on the height, we are talking about the building would be 30 feet tall in this elevation, but would be set down below the neighborhood area about 16 feet. So only the very top, like the top half of the building would be visible along this edge. And with the buffer of trees, with the also the buffer that we are providing on that 25-foot edge along the north and east sides of the site of your properties. During the summer months, the trees would be pretty grown in, and I think the building footprint would stay down. The other nice thing is the parking area would be down this hill a bit, so it would be pretty much out of sight as well. During the winter months, you would see a little bit of the top of the roofs of this part of the building through the trees once the leaves are down. So I wanted to kind of talk through that and make sure that was clear. Looking at the zooming in a little bit more, which we kind of zoomed in already, but kind of taking a look at what the spaces are actually going to be set up as. The art and music wing will be along the southern edge. As I mentioned, the athletic spaces and the robotics area will be on the northern edge of the building, and again will be sunk about 15 feet down. So basically we're maintaining the same roof height as pretty much across the board. So it will look as if it'll be one horizontal kind of building along the site. So there'll be no large bump up where we would normally have with an athletic space. There is a cafe, and this would be the main entrance to the admin area, and then a giant cafe commons area where everybody could have lunch and a space for everybody to meet in. These support spaces are a kitchen and some mechanical areas. The STEM rooms would be on this western edge of the building. This spot would be a gym, a weight room / gym space. The academic wing would be located on this northern wing, and it would stretch north to the wetland, into that area toward the wetland, I should say, that kind of borders this edge. And that will also step down, so there'll be a 2-story academic wing on that north edge. Again, an existing robotics building will be maintained, and we discussed kind of the loop and how the kind of circulation would happen into the site. Any questions so far from you guys there?
Chris, can you just touch on the one tree? It's the cottonwood tree that will be removed too, just so everybody is aware. And
yeah, sure. Yeah, so the connection here at Brookcrest, we're creating a small path out to that, where the road kind of dies into the site. There's an existing water main there that we're connecting to, and it's requiring us to remove this cottonwood tree that would be in the way. So it's more of a connection to utility reason that tree has to go away. And I should also mention too, the site will be, along the building, there will be new planting, and there will be a few more trees along the southern edge as well. Talking a little bit about while we're out here, this southern area here would be a couple of basketball courts and a green space for the kids to be outside and play in. And then as you come up the hill, we plan to leave this hill alone. It will be planted with some grasses, and would be used only with the kids kind of in this general area. The next slide is the kind of image that we wanted to go through. So zooming in on this key, so just wanted to kind of walk through where we were taking this view from. It's on the southern edge, or the southern edge of our site, kind of looking toward the northeast. And we purposely left off like everything on the site, but I wanted to give you an idea of this is the proposed idea so far of the building. You can see that there is a consistent horizontal plane. Again, where we're standing, the building, the finished floor of the building is about 14 feet, 15 feet below there. So again, the building is set down, and it's also pushed 280 feet to the north. So it does feel, it doesn't, we wanted to make sure that we weren't getting close to kind of the neighborhood boundary there. And then on the back side, you can see, so this this kind of line back here. You can't see it really everywhere else, but this would be the roof of the gym spaces beyond. So they basically would, it kind of steps down the hill. So the building would be basically, if we're looking this way, the gym spaces are down below. So this roof line is maintained. And then the other thing to keep in mind too is I think as the site, as you move a bit toward the houses, there's also some trees inside of your properties in your houses, and because that is leveled out, I think that as you step farther back from the property line, I think the building, especially on this edge, would start to kind of fade down the hill a little bit. So again, wanted to give an idea of kind of what we're up to here. Yeah, and I think that kind of gets us to the current state of things. Happy to answer any more questions.
So Chris, can you go back the slide? So maybe 2 slides. Just want to see that study again as a whole. So basically what we're doing is we're keeping the tree line, right? And
Yep.
we have, in addition to that tree line, we have a buffer of about 25 foot, and that slopes down, right?
Yep.
So you're looking down on the building as you showed the site, correct? Okay.
Correct.
Just wanted to keep that clarification there. Looks like the softball field hits away from the woods, not towards the woods, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Also with that is. All right. And in addition, we talked about some trees and things, landscaping that will be added in that, beyond that.
Right.
Chris, I have one clarification in your what you had to say there, and I think is worth pointing out as relates to the pending activities and the work that can, or the proximity by which we can work within or near the wetlands. Just so to be clear, we cannot work within the limits of the wetlands, and our grading limits are providing a 5-10 foot separation from the flagged limits. And so all of the work will, this initial phase of work will be away from the wetlands themselves. And then the permitted activities, once that goes through the process and once we receive the permit, then there would be some minor activities that would allow us to complete the construction that's proposed. So there was a minor statement in there about can't work within near is a relative term. I just wanted to be clear about that. So
Understood.
we'll be close and we will be near, we will not be in.
Right.
In them. So
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for the description.
Hey, we have a question here from Barb, guys.
Yeah, I'm wondering about the pathway that goes into the neighborhood. A couple questions. One is there's water, and you said, is that going to offer any type of bathrooms or anything like that? That would be again by the softball field, Christopher, down.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm having a little hard time. Let me turn it my.
I just wondered, were there
This path.
water?
Sorry, one more time. I can't quite hear you.
Okay, correct.
Sorry, guys.
Water would be the bathrooms up there. But softball fields and practice fields, maybe not.
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing the water. The word.
Yeah.
Water.
So basically, she's just saying, could you put bathrooms in that area knowing there's water there? Let's say down the road you want to put some bathrooms in.
Oh, near the softball field.
Yeah.
Right, I see. Sorry about that, guys. Yes, we can look into that, definitely.
I just like
Well, I would add there's one thing with that though, there isn't a sanitary service up in that direction. So it's not anything that we planned for initially. But it certainly is a feasibility.
Right.
The water being there, we would have to deal with the wastewater.
Thank you. One more question regarding that pathway. Does it go into the neighborhood or does it stop in the fence or something like that?
Yeah, it would.
Okay.
Yeah, it would come up to that fence, like to that gate area, but
Okay.
not go into it, right?
Okay.
So-
I wasn't sure where that ended.
We will connect to the existing sidewalk that's there at the end of Brookcrest. But the road will not go through.
So Chris, this is Bob. Chrissy and I were talking, and this was on mine right from the start. So I want to tie into Barb's question with regard to these two locations, there's a couple things. One of the things that the current tennis courts have, which is a bit of deficit at the high school, is there's no restrooms near it, right? So you're moving these significantly away from the building. And I mean, have you guys even looked at what the budget item might be to add restrooms and some additional parking? Not necessarily much, but anyone that's going to be tied to those event areas. That definitely is not going to encroach on the neighborhood, but if you could just give me some input on that.
Sure. Yeah, and I think, as Jim said, I think we could certainly look into the feasibility of adding some bathrooms up on this area. Yeah, definitely recognize that it is a, from the school out to here is a bit of a walk. As far as the parking goes, yes, there is, the parking is situated a little bit to the north, and you would have to come back up along here. I think there would be, and you kind of have to climb back up the hill. That was kind of the other, to get parking set up in this area because of the topography and the level change. It was going to be very difficult to do and a bit cost prohibitive. So the parking down in this, what's this kind of more existing flat area is kind of the most effective here. And yes, it is a bit of a kind of a walk up this path.
Sure. And Chris,
I understand.
there is also, sorry to interrupt, but there are also parallel spaces along the practice field that I think got washed out during the rendering process here. But it's about 400 feet in length of parallel parking on the southbound movement.
Down this way, so
Yes.
along this edge.
Great.
And I know be reserved for,
Yeah.
yeah, that's, a lot of grandparents and people with disabilities attending these things. Want to make sure they have access and don't fall down.
Yep. Thanks for clarifying, Jim.
So another question for you. I mean, the site is a nice site. It's got a lot of, you mentioned changes in topography and so forth. One of the things that kind of come to my mind is been doing a lot of college visits with my daughter is I've seen a lot of outdoor like amphitheaters or even outdoor like learning spaces. Has there been any thought? Is there any place that would be a natural spot for that? Go through a hill or something like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we have looked at a few areas. As this slopes back up the hill, like right in this area, there would be there's a bit of a small retaining wall here, but this could be a potential area to create this kind of a natural feature for kind of an outdoor space closer to the academic wing. There is, let me draw that. It's not, so there is a loop basically that goes around the building and connects back, which is basically a fire loop, which isn't shown very well on this. I apologize. But right along this edge out here, so this bump out is the science rooms, and they all have doors directly out of the building, and there are also a few other exits that would come out of the main corridor out to the east. And we have looked at this area for potential to be an outdoor room, one for kind of its proximity to the wetland, and two, just proximity to the building. The other We do also have an exit that takes you out to the north of the academic wing, and we did talk about this area out here being a potential spot for a natural feature. It does slope down, and we have talked about that loosely as a potential area for outdoor classroom.
Cool, thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Our school is thinking got something like that, or a couple of.
Just a quick comment about the softball field and the practice fields. Currently, has a freshman softball field. And the practice field is generally, you're not gonna get a lot of spectators on it. So going, if you would do a bump out maybe for a drop off for anybody that needs help, grandparents, et cetera. I mean, as far as the parking goes, and I don't think it's, in the bathrooms up there currently, like I said, it's just a porta john up there, which you can get ADA, of course, it'd be nicer to have permanent, but it's not downtown where the freshman game is, but it's not a huge, I mean, I've attended plenty of them, so it's just, yeah, tournament.
But it definitely, needs consideration.
Oh, absolutely, for sure, for
I
sure.
mean, I know that, again, going back to hospitals, that it's like so,
It's not.
people who are disabled, you know, the honest with these too.
Where's rugby gonna be? Because they've been in that phase.
Yeah, we're still evaluating that, and obviously we have, another field here, same number of fields that we had before, but what we're trying to do is figure out where's the best place for them, and we'll work with them. They typically like grass,
Yeah.
so we'll have to figure out, as much as we have grass fields, we have 3 of them. This one, we have babies, and we also have green.
So this will be.
Yeah, this will be grass.
Right.
Grass. Yes, grass.
Chris, I got a text message from a friend who lives on Brookcrest, and they're having trouble trying to get an email or a message through. So I've been asked to pose the question of whether or not people will be parking in the cul-de-sac or on Brookcrest and walking through the neighborhood to get to practices and sporting events.
Hey, Jim.
Yes.
Heather. I would like everybody to know that at the end of the Zoom meeting, there will be a link that will push out to their screen. And what we would really like is for them to complete that Google form with any other questions so that we can put an FAQ out and respond to everybody so it's all in one place.
Sounds good. Perfect.
And that's one I would say, I don't know that we're gonna have an opening there for them to walk through without, and as far as parking goes, I'm not sure why anybody would park there. They're gonna probably have to jump a fence, go through the woods, go over an incline or do something, right? So, and I do think we also, if that became a problem at all, we would obviously talk to our school community and also talk to the police department.
So two things on that with regard to that statement. So if you were to take a similar situation with West Elementary, you have Jack Allen and you have Billmont. And when Little League is in session, basically residents of those streets, people keep their driveways clear, but that's it. So they're parking everywhere. So that was sort of my inquiry with regard to parking, because if you have parking near those fields, there will be less of a need to use a different artery to fill, because
path of least resistance, and everyone's gonna wanna be 2 feet from the field gate. I'm just trying to give you a point of reference here, and what it's like.
Understood.
But I don't see with the woods here, with, a barrier here, I don't see people being able to walk through your backyards or even that main spot. Where that one would go to go into that. This is gated off. So they have to climb.
But what they go in?
It goes to a gate.
So that path just goes to a gate. There's going to be a fence all along. I thought it was unnatural.
Yeah, it's not a fence all along, but there's a gate. And you're gonna have some stuff, because I think doesn't this go out in the, I'm not sure where that's going out actually. But it does look different. Any idea there, Chris, where the in between the softball field and the practice field, where that little run is, yeah, where does that go?
I think this would come up to Brookcrest there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the in spot.
So, yeah, I mean, that would be another thing. I mean, we could talk about that path here. Sorry, I can zoom in more. Sorry about that. This could come up and just kind of wrap back around the softball field. It doesn't necessarily, doesn't need to necessarily connect up here, but.
But that's probably nice to have that there for the kids in that neighborhood too. So it's if you have walkers, having them walk all the way around. Seems a little, gotta have some benefit to being up against.
Well, if you look at the overhead map, it's already a walkway or something that they've already got designed coming right out of there. Goes into a natural walk, used quite a bit. You can see by the wear on the ground.
Which goes back to the question of the park.
Yeah, and people will park there and they will walk through.
We do it for the middle school right now.
Yeah. Roger, yes, I think it's clear. Well, I'll say from my perspective, it's always been our intention to tie that to the sidewalk so that the kids in the neighborhood can walk to school. And that people bicycling through could bicycle into the high school or whatever that it might, it's a connection to the community.
Okay.
We haven't talked in detail about parking for sporting events, but we have provided parking along the drive that leads up to the school for the use of those who are on the practice field. It certainly isn't our intent to have people parking in the neighborhood, but we can't control that.
The frequency with that, because you're probably talking about 10 freshman games a year.
Yeah.
Maximum. And but then it would be practice field. That's a practice field. But I wouldn't think it'd be overly used as.
I'm hoping we can cut off any challenges, proper signage, good communication, talking about common good and using things the right way. I think requires a little bit of new training. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions? So we'll take a look at the Google form, the questions that our neighborhood has there, and make sure we get answers to those. And we'll also share with you guys so that you're aware of what the questions were and what the answers are. So, yeah.
I have a comment. I really appreciate the footprint that you talked about here. That it's lower and kind of you're not looking at a building, and I really, really appreciate that and that design. I think that's very important. Your aesthetic. I like that. Very good. Using the land really well.
Yeah, like I said, it's a really nice property, so we're trying to use that to make the building kind of nestle into it.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You all have a good night.
Oh. All right.
next regular meeting is October 19th at 7 o'clock here at this building. And we are. Hereby. I'm gonna be interested to see that.
I was just gonna say, anybody who has any questions about the Supreme Court ruling, all that stuff?
No, I appreciate the letter.
Yeah, I don't know if you're sure, put that all there. Yeah, it's split. Very split. A lot of people thankful, obviously people that are aware of these. But I think the key thing is really there's 4 to 5 things. And I mentioned too, that I think people are getting confused. They think